Gang Territory, Chapter 3, Jaw Cracker. We were supposed to be having a geography lesson, but I found it hard to concentrate on the major rivers of the British Isles when I didn't even know where Mrs. King lived. I knew it was in the street, and that she lived with her daughter Winifred, but the geography of the street was as foreign to me as that of the Go-By Desert. The simple solution, of course, would be to go quietly along with Winifred, who was sitting in demure blonde prettiness just 3 desks behind me. The bell would ring at midday, we would go off together, and all would be plain sailing, except for the slug. I turned the problem over in my mind and found a solution. As soon as the bell rang, I would go straight over to Winifred, ask her how to find her house, say that I had an urgent errand, and that I would join her at her mother's as soon as possible. I would then try to slip out of school without being seen by the slug, creepy or slim, and make my way to the street. It seemed a good simple plan, and should work. I was dragged swiftly back to more immediate problems by a sudden silence that seemed to have fallen on the class. I glanced up to discover that everybody, including Miss Ufford, was looking at me expectantly. "Well, boy," she asked, "what's the answer?" I tried the trick of recall in which the echo of what has just been said is somewhere held in the memory. My brain came up with the word Stratford, but what was the question? I stabbed wildly and stammered, "Stour, miss. Constable painted the mill there." Huffy looked surprised, and the class roared with laughter. They knew it was not the right answer. "Indeed, there is a famous painting by Constable of Stratford Mill on the River Stour. It's not far from here," said Huffy slowly, not sure whether I was trying to show off, trying to make fun of her, or, what was true, simply trying to cover my lack of attention. "But we were considering the Avon. Stratford is on the River Avon. It's famous because of its association with Shakespeare." She decided to continue her effort to catch me. "What's an oxbow lake?" she fired at me. Lots of hands shot up in the class, but the question was directed at me. I hadn't heard her talking of oxbow lakes, but fortunately I read a lot, so I knew the answer. I decided the best way out of this embarrassment was to reply as modestly as I knew how. "Please, miss, an oxbow lake is a former bend in a river that's been cut off by the river changing its course." I looked at her questioningly. I never liked being singled out, and I was hoping that this inquisition was now ended. But it was not to be. She was determined to teach me a lesson, and not about rivers. "And where are oxbow lakes to be found?" This time I was well and truly stumped. I racked my memory, but nothing came out. "Well?" she asked, a hint of victory in her voice. "I'm waiting." "Oxford, miss?" I finally ventured, all at hazard. The class howled in glee. Huffy had me now, and she knew it. "And which river flows through Oxford?" I tried very hard to recall the maps of England I had seen. I had to get this one right, or I was done for. Was it the Thames? Or perhaps the Ouse? I was almost sure it was the Thames, but that seemed too easy. I decided to admit defeat. "Please, miss, I don't know, miss. I think it's the Thames, but I'm not sure." "Yes, it's the Upper Thames," she snapped, "called the Isis. But in future pay attention in class instead of gazing vacantly into space. Then you'd know for sure." Honours were to her, but even so I'd put up a good showing, I thought. For the next half hour I tried hard to pay attention, but it was difficult to put aside altogether the looming geographical problem of Winifred, the slug, and the whereabouts of my dinner. Finally the bell rang, and I prepared to rush over to Winifred. It's one thing to plan events in one's head, but quite another when real life intervenes with its unexpected surprises. I was frustrated in my intention by the strict class discipline. We had first to stand silently by our desks. Huffy then dismissed us, but each rank of pupils had to take it in turn to file out, girls first, then the boys. By the time I got through the doorway, Winifred had already disappeared. Where had she gone? My first thought was that she'd gone into the girls' washroom. This is out of bounds for boys. I hung around outside the door for a while, hoping that the slug wouldn't spot me. The slug didn't appear, but Kate came out, her long braid swinging attractively behind her. "Oh, Katie," I called, "have you a moment? Can you tell me where the street is?" "You don't know that?" she exclaimed in astonishment. "Katie, I only arrived yesterday, and I hardly know yet where anything is." "Oh, yes, of course," she responded more gently. "Look, you go out of the school gate, turn left, go up the hill about 200 yards to the T-junction, and the street is there on your right. It starts at the Cock Inn. I'd come with you to show you, but I've got to go home for dinner, and it's in the opposite direction." I thanked her and waited a few more moments. I should have asked her whether Winifred was in the washroom, but it was too late now. Some of the girls I'd seen going in came out again. They looked curiously at me. I decided to move away. I thought that Winifred was perhaps waiting for me outside the school, so, keeping a sharp lookout for the slug and his bodyguard, I advanced cautiously towards the exit. Few pupils were by now remaining in the building, and I hoped that the slug and co. had already hurried off to wherever it was they went to eat. I peered out of the porch. All seemed quiet, just a few children sitting on the wall eating sandwiches. The coast appeared to be clear. I went softly to the school gate. There was some scuffling going on to the right, with a girl's voice protesting. I looked out, and there, just 10 yards outside, was Katie. The slug was pulling her brutally backwards by her hair. Slim was whipping at her legs with a long, thin switch cut from the hedge, whilst Creepy was prancing round the other two, egging them on. My blood boiled. "Leave her alone!" I cried. "You don't treat girls like that!" I rushed towards them, with no clear idea of what I was going to do. "Grab him!" yelled the slug, letting go of Katie and turning towards me. I tried to dodge, but my impetus was such that I collided off balance with Slim, who dropped his switch and grabbed my left arm. Creepy took advantage of my instability and immediately held fast to my right arm. The two of them pulled my arms painfully back so that I couldn't move. I was well and truly caught. "Run, Katie, run!" I shouted. She ran 30 yards as far as the bridge over the river, then stopped to look back. "Run! Run further!" I yelled, but she stayed where she was. "Got you!" snarled the slug. "Now you're going to get what's coming to you." He punched me hard in the ribs. My breath left me with a rush. It hurt. "Pull him over to the wall," he commanded his henchman. He wanted me against the wall, where we were less in view and where his blows would be more telling. I didn't know whether the slug had used Kate as bait to trap me, or whether he was simply paying her out for talking to me on my arrival. I suspected the latter. He was too slow to work out a sophisticated ambush. He punched me again in the ribs. I tried to ride the blow, but with Creepy and Slim holding my arms there was little I could do. I tried appealing to his sense of fair play, even though it appeared likely that he lacked this sense completely. "You foul coward! 3 against 1, and a little one at that! Tell your thugs to let me go, and we'll fight this out, man to man." "Hark at little Sir Galahad," he sneered. "Wants to fight it out, man to man." He punched me again in the ribs. He then picked up Slim's switch and cut me across the legs with it. It smarted. I noticed out of the corner of my eye that Kate had crept a little closer. She had her fist clenched. "Leave him alone, you big bully!" she cried. But my tormentors took no notice. "Go home, Katie!" I shouted, and my lungs hurt. "This is between me and him. We'll settle it between us. Go home!" But she didn't move. "I'll settle you all right," snarled the slug. "Shut your gob!" And he cut me stingingly across the face with the switch. I tried to keep calm and think. Not easy in the circumstances. Creepy and Slim were enjoying themselves. They were becoming confident. I stopped struggling, as though resigned to my fate. Their grip on my arm slackened slightly, which allowed me to crouch a little. I watched the slug closely and saw his next move coming almost before he'd thought of it himself. He drew his arm back for a punch to the stomach. The blow was low, and he had to bend down to reach me. As his head came down, I brought up a knee to meet his jaw. I heard his teeth come together with a crack like a stonebreaker's hammer. He fell against me as I lifted my other leg off the ground. Creepy and Slim could not maintain their grip with the unexpected full weight of my body plus that of the slug. The slug's punch had caught me on the left side. It helped the momentum of an arm-wrenching twist to the right. There was a confusion of falling bodies from which I escaped. I was free. "Run, Katie! Run like the wind!" I yelled, setting an example by running up the hill towards the street. After 150 yards I was winded. My ribs hurt badly. I slowed down and looked behind. Then I stopped. No need to run further. The slug was still on the ground. He appeared to be unconscious. The other two were bending over him. Creepy stood up, went into the school caretaker's house, and came out again, accompanied by a large woman. She too bent over the slug. My God, have I killed him? I asked myself. But no, he sat up to hold both hands to his jaw. Creepy said something to the woman, then pointed up the hill towards me. The woman straightened up, looked in my direction, and shook her fist. Of Katie there was no sign. I continued slowly up the hill, holding my ribs with both hands, each step a jarring torment. I tried walking on my toes and taking short breaths. That was a little better, but not much. At the T-junction I turned right, and there on the wall of an ancient-looking pub was a sign, "The Street." Now, where was number 26? An auspicious number, if the milk monitoring was anything to go by.